Yeah, myself, Nate Weaver, Ryan Frascella in here today, doing a great. I think this is a great edition of Beyond the Lead. By the way, we have a couple of people from the Temple News in today. We have Paige Gross and we have Emily Rolen in here that both have articles in the Temple News. If you haven't picked up your edition, this week's edition of the Temple News, by the way, pick it up. It's always interesting stuff. But we're going to start off today with Paige, with your article. Do you want to go through and summarize what?
Sure. So Emily actually got the idea from Dorothy Spite, who's mother in charge. We've written about that before. But she suggested that we focus on this group that currently meets at Temple Hospital every first Thursday of every month. And it's really a bunch of people who have lost a loved one, usually a child, but it's really open to anyone who needs support, needs someone to talk to. A lot of people there have lost a child years ago, and they're just finally starting to talk about it, starting to open up. So the main woman I talked to, Marvella McDaniel, she is currently the leader of the group, and she lost her son Eric 20 years ago. He was a junior at Temple when he died, and it took her a while to come to a meeting. It took her a while to really move past the really initial grief stage of losing her son. But once she did, she realized she wanted to help others get through the same place of grief. And that was just, talking to her was very amazing. I think sometimes as a journalist, you really have to dig to find the story, but she just offered it all up for me. And I think I did very little talking, so that was really
awesome.
Cool, yeah.
So did you have any personal relation to it or at all? Or what was the reason that you took on the story?
Michaela, who is our lifestyle editor, she said, I have this pitch and I think you'd do a good job with it. I was at the Daily News last semester and I talked to a lot of people who have either lost someone to crime or have someone maybe in jail for getting mixed up in criminal activity. And I think it's a really different kind of interview when you're talking to someone whose loved one is either died or isn't accessible to them every day, like maybe most of us, have that access to those people. It's just a very different kind of interview than if you're talking to someone for a news story or, any other feature story. So, yeah, I think as often as we can hear these stories of people who are helping others, not through the normal ways that we see, but through grief or through pain are the type of stories that we should be telling.
Mm-hmm. And what was your initial reaction when asked for the interview? I don't know if you met her in person first or...
We only could talk over the phone because we both are pretty busy, but okay. I think that her personality showed through the phone just as much, I think, as if we met in person. And I think when you're interviewing someone and you are talking about death, I think it's less of an interview and it should just be more of a conversation, if that makes any sense. I think it's just, tell me about this person that you love that is no longer with us. Tell me about your experience leading this group, and not, you're not probing them. You're just asking them to offer up whatever information they're comfortable with. So.
And so is this group, is this just kind of one section, or are there different branches of it? Or
the Compassionate Friends is a national group, but the Temple chapter is at Temple Hospital in a basement room, and they meet one Thursday of every month. And Marvella is the leader of that group, and she has been going for the last 20 years, and she's been the leader for the last 10 years.
And do we know any of the reactions from other people that go to this?
I think one of the main reasons she became the leader of this group was seeing other people kind of work through this type of stuff. And I think she says in the story, you don't ever get over it. It's not something you get over. It's something you work through. So she's like, once I was able to work through it, I wanted to help other people do the same thing.
And do we know if they've seen an increase in people going there? I mean, we've certainly seen, we haven't seen a drop-off in crime in Philadelphia. I mean, last year alone, I'm pretty sure we either tied or we were a couple homicides above the rate for the year before. So has there been an influx of people going to this group? Do we know?
I don't know about an influx. It changes a lot because people might come once and decide it's not for them, or they may come and then years later realize they need to be going back. One thing she did say was, there are certainly not enough. Out of the people who need it in the city, there are certainly not enough coming to this group. And she said people are there for all different reasons. It's not just like Marvella's son was murdered, but there are people who lost people to sickness like cancer, people who, one of the other mother's daughter that I talked to, her daughter died in a car accident. So it's I think it's not. Some of it is not expected, but something like cancer, you have the time to prepare
Right.
for. And in these instances, these people's children were just taken from them immediately, instantly. And so I think that's a whole different kind of grief than someone who had the time to think about, like, cancer is a thing you can kind of wrap your head around,
Right.
but maybe not, just one day your son is there and the next he's not. So
Yeah. And did you get any indication that there was, obviously very, very sad topics always being discussed at this meeting, I'm sure, but is there any indication that there is some happiness that comes out of it?
I think what Marvella and Donna do gives them great joy. Something that she said was, you're obviously very upset, but your children wouldn't want you to be this way. They would want you to be happy. Like, they would want you, I think the pull quote at the bottom says, like, they would want you to be happy. They'd want you to laugh. They'd want you to dance. They wouldn't want you to feel this way. And so I think that's what they want to do. They want to impress that upon the people who come. So with grieving, I think eventually there's some sort of, you get to a place of the new normal. She said it may not be that you're back to what you were before, but you learn to find a new kind of happy, I think.
And tell us about a couple of the different people that you ended up talking to from the group.
I talked to Donna, who's actually going to be, Marvella recently asked her to be another, like a co-leader with her. Her daughter, Diamond, was 23. She was in a car accident, and she worked for the school district of Philadelphia. She was a special education instructor, and she just, I think talking to someone about their child, they're forever emulated in that way, and I hope that this kind of helps them, like, remember them. Something interesting they said was that people grieve in a lot of different ways, and one of them might be that they still talk about that person like they're still here. And I think Donna does that a little bit. She emulates Diamond. She still has her cat named Coco Chanel because she wanted
really?
to. Yeah.
Coco Chanel.
Coco Chanel. And Donna's actually allergic to cats, but she wanted to keep, I think, that part of Diamond with her because she had 2 pit bulls and Coco Chanel, and so Donna still takes care of Coco Chanel even though she's allergic, because I think to her it's like a piece of Diamond with her.
Oh wow, that's really awesome. That's something that I feel really, like, helps people get through it too. Just, like, even a little bit of memory, a little bit of keeping them alive. But where can people, if we have people that are listening that need this kind of group, where and when, and
They meet at Temple Hospital, 5:30 the first Thursday of every month. I can double check on that, but and also you can reach out to Marvella. I can make that email available to you if you wish.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, so, and it's, like I said, it's a national organization. There are a couple other branches of it outside of Philadelphia or in different parts of the city, but this one mostly serves people who live in the immediate area.
Yeah, because I was going to say, how did they pick how did they pick Temple University Hospital as their location out of, like, everywhere? I guess it could have been. And because I was reading through and I was like, wow, they're meeting in the basement of the hospital?
When I asked Marvella about that, she said it was kind of the first place that offered us a space for free.
Okay.
That was big enough for all of us to meet together. Also, I think, this is just speculation, but having it in a hospital also brings people other resources that a hospital can offer, like maybe mental health services.
Yeah.
Because people here, none of them are psychologists or therapists. They're just people offering support to each other. So this isn't any really sort of formal medical, attention.
Yeah.
But I think that the results that come out of it are maybe more than what can be offered from a therapist. Just see someone else who have gone through a very similar situation and get to talk and share their stories. That's really what it's all about.
And so we're calling this Beyond the Lead, and we're trying to go beyond what's printed in the paper. Is there anything that kind of maybe didn't make it into the print, or something you thought that was really interesting from the story that you want to share?
Sure. I don't know how easy it is to make this clear just through words, but both of these women have suffered immeasurable loss, and both of them were very positive beings, and I think that's really cool. They've both managed to find, or at least have realized they had to find, their new normal, which they talked about, and they're at the point where they've worked through their really, like, hardest part of their grief, and now
Yeah.
they just want to help others. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, when I was reading through the article, I was like, wow, I'm glad that something like this exists, because I think it is important, like, I'm pretty sure they mentioned it in here. Sometimes you feel like everything's bottled up like a fist, like it's all just in there, and they were saying like how unhealthy that was, and just to have this kind of opportunity to go and talk to other people that have gone through the same thing.
Yeah, and I agree. And did you say there are different chapters in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I don't know if they're all technically within city limits, but I know there's one in like Jenkintown, so people in the surrounding areas, it's accessible to
that's
them
awesome.
as well.
See,
yeah.
that helps people inside the city, outside the city, and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so great discussion there, Jenny. Thank you so much. Great article written in there. Paige.
Yeah.
Paige.
Yeah, wow.
I don't know where I got Jenny from, but I'm always just making stuff up here. No, that's just not true. So we're going to go ahead and take our first break here of the afternoon. You are listening to Beyond the Lead in the Rational Radio time slot here on WHIP Radio, Philly's #1 college radio station. Make sure to tune in on the iHeartRadio app if you are on your mobile device, and iHeartRadio.com if you are on the computer. We will be right back.
Nurse, I need you to apply pressure to the head wound until I can get to it. I'm concerned she's lost too much blood.
Oh, no.
You in the corner, who are you? You're not supposed to be here.
She's my girlfriend, Doctor.
You need to wait out in the waiting room.
Please, Doctor, I want to stay with her.
Look, she's been badly injured. So if you want to do what's best for her, you need to let us do our work.
Please, Doctor, she has to be okay. I didn't mean to do this. I love her.
Wait a second. You were the driver?
Yes, but I didn't mean to. I swear, we went to dinner. I was just buzzed. I only had a few drinks.
Just buzzed? Why didn't you tell us that? In that case, your girlfriend is fine.
Hey, sweetie. I feel great. You want to get out of here?
I can't believe this. Really, Doctor? She's really okay?
What, are you kidding? No, not really. Nurse, get me a suture kit. Stat.
Buzzed driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
Okay, forest animals, today is a new day. Kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow.
Yes?
Have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. Okay, River.
Dude.
How's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man. Perfect for a little riverside shoeless relaxation.
Ah, good. Owl, you here? Course. Who's asking? I am. Look, you know the drill. Sleep during the day, scare the kids at night. Perfect. I love my job. Oak tree?
What's up?
Still in the same place I left you last year. That's what I like. Consistency.
Well, it's not like I'm going anywhere for the next couple hundred years.
I know. I love it. Turtle. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. You'd think he would have learned by now to leave the night before our meetings. Okay. Squirrel. Has anybody seen Mr. Squirrel?
The forest has been preparing just for you. Visit a forest near you today. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Wildfires burn millions of acres each year. And each year, wildland firefighters like Fire Chief James Hall battle to contain them. But they can't do it alone.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. It can ignite and destroy your home, your community, or more. That single ember can be just as dangerous as the wildfire itself. But you can do something firefighters can't. You can act now to prepare your home and your community for wildfire. You can reduce the risk. Do your part. Go to fireadapted.org.
Get fire adapted. Learn what you can do now to reduce wildfire damage later at fireadapted.org. A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council. Learn more at fireadapted.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese.
followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Remember when your neighbor found us naked in the car, and the time some outdoor action got us kicked out of the park? Getting frisky in the dark, I gave your eye a poke. I think the dog is also in the bed. Do I smell smoke? You and me, we never give up, you and me. We never ever ever give up. Getting hot and heavy with the whipped cream that we bought, undressing in the kitchen and then getting caught. So many things can go wrong, but we still can get it right. You and me, we're not gonna give up tonight.
You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Visit bedsider.org to compare all the choices and put the bogus myths to bed at bedsider.org.
Boy, we got options tonight.
Brought to you by Bedsider and the Ad Council. Bedsider.org.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I'm 19 years old, and this is how I live united. I've always been kind of a computer geek, and I found a way to use those skills to help the homeless in my community. For people facing hard times, computer skills and a basic resume are so important. It may seem like a small thing, but it makes a huge difference in people's lives. So with United Way, I created a program where I work with the homeless. Together, we go through their whole job history, write a resume, and then save it on their very own USB drive. We provide workbooks and training certificates. I even budgeted for cupcakes so we can celebrate as a class when one of our people gets a job. That's huge. When somebody says, "Hey man, that job that you helped me apply for, I got it." That's what Living United feels like to me. My name is Dale Pazinski. I help people achieve financial independence. So I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
There's hundreds of fun and simple things you and your family can do to live a healthier lifestyle. Here's 20 of them. Eat less, eat slower, eat smarter, eat your fruits and veggies. Stop eating before you're full. Up your fiber, lower your calories, get off the bus early, do some gardening, do jumping jacks, take the stairs, take one, not two, take on a new sport, take a long walk home, walk instead of drive, bend, stretch, reach for the stars, climb the monkey bars, skip the fudge bars. Search We Can online to find more ways you and your family can get healthy together. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
Everybody to Beyond the Lead on WHIP Radio, Philly's #1 college radio station. We are doing our new collaboration right now with the Temple News, running through the Temple News' some of their articles from this week, having a nice discussion with their writers. And, you know, we've had some good discussions in the previous weeks when we were doing the podcast. Now we're back up and running live. We have everybody in studio, so
it's nice.
Yeah, it's a nice transition. It's nice that we're now at this point where we can keep on doing this. So we are now moving into something that is something that has been in the news a little bit for different reasons recently, and that is the appointment of a compliance advisor for President Neil Theobald. And here to talk about that further is Editor-in-Chief of the Temple News, Emily Rolen. Emily, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So talk a little bit about what this article is, about, what the compliance advisor means, what it's going to mean for Temple, kind of all the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, so it happened on Monday of this week. Dr. Valerie Harrison was appointed as the senior advisor to the president for compliance, which is a really fancy word for another person who works at Temple who is solely dedicated to handling sexual misconduct and violence at our university. So Valerie has worked at Temple for quite some time. She also worked at Lincoln University in Arcadia, and she has a lot of background in legal advising. So I think that just through my conversation with her and just reading about her past work is she'll have a lot of input in kind of helping survivors or just other students at Temple going through the process of handling sexual misconduct. So I think that the addition of her role at Temple is something that will centralize resources, staff, and education for anyone that is seeking that at Temple in regards to sexual assault. And I was personally excited to see something like this come to the university.
Okay, so one of my questions is, are there resources already available?
Yeah, of course. So Temple, I mean, this is such an enormous topic. I could talk about it for a really long time. But so Temple has a lot of points of entry for students to access resources and administration or counseling at the university. So students can go right to Campus Safety Services and talk to Donna Gray and Charlie Leone. They can also talk to Kim Jesta in the Wellness Resource Center. They can go to Tuttleman Counseling Center, and there is a unit dedicated to helping survivors of sexual assault called SACE. And there's also groups on campus that kind of meet with survivors, have support groups, that kind of thing. So there are resources, but something that I thought was problematic a little bit at our university is that there is no rape crisis center here, and there was just not one office where students could go and say, this is what I need right now. So I think this is a step in the right direction for that.
And that's what I actually wanted to get to, is because what we've seen a lot of recently is coupled with the stadium protests, is we've seen requests for the rape crisis center, sexual assault crisis center. I don't know if you know this. What would that center do differently than like the resources that are available like right now?
So if someone on Temple's campus is assaulted and they want to get medical attention, they can go to Temple University Hospital, or they can be transported to the Special Victims Unit in Hunting Park. And that is the resource for anyone in the city of Philadelphia who is assaulted or a survivor of sexual violence. So we don't have anywhere on Temple's campus directly that anyone can go for medical attention right away. So this means you can't get a rape kit on campus, and you can't get any examinations done on campus. And this is a good and bad thing. Hunting Park is a little ways away, so
yeah, sure.
If you're assaulted, you have to go to the police or go to Tuttleman or go to the Wellness Resource Center, and that's kind of where the process starts. So you can eventually be taken to Hunting Park at the Special Victims Unit if you so choose, but that is a process. And, you know, I don't have all of the confidence in a rape crisis center either, that we would be able to get all the resources at Temple to have like a special medical examiner who it really can only conducts rape kits. I think that's really important for a survivor to have someone that knows exactly what they're doing and only handles this kind of treatment. So there's a lot of things that could be changed at the university, but I think that the city and Temple are working to kind of come up with practical resources that make sense for our students.
And I know Temple has been mentioned in a Department of Education report dating back to incidents in 2013 that they say have not been properly handled or even resolved. Is there any relating to sexual violence? Is there any indication that with the appointment of this advisor that may change? That I think there was one case from 2013. I mean, that's now we're talking 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Is there any indication that will kind of move through the process of getting some sort of closure in those cases?
So I think that sexual assault and sexual violence is a societal problem, and it's not a Temple problem. But that's not to say that we aren't dealing with it in the best way we could at the same time. So in 2014, a committee was formed that started meeting to kind of talk about this and have more dialogue and try and combat some of the complaints we had from Title IX. So that committee was called the Presidential Committee on Campus Sexual Misconduct. And in August of last year, President Theobald approved 4 of their recommendations. So that included the online training course that everyone at Temple had to complete, which was called Think About It. But back in August, President Theobald didn't approve this office that was just approved on Monday. He said, I don't think this is what we need. And then from further discussion with faculty, even parents of students, administration, students on campus, community members, they made the decision to implement this office based on recommendations that were made in that committee.
And so do we know how many recommendations were made in total? He adopted 4 of them.
Yeah, I know that the committee had been meeting since September of 2014 and putting together an entire list of what the university should complete to be a more innovative and resourceful place for survivors or anyone who would be assaulted in the future. So I don't know the exact number of how many they recommended, but I know that 4 were approved back in August, and there's definitely more that are on the horizon. Just from, some of our reporting so far this semester, we've talked to faculty here and students who are pushing for things like a rape crisis center, or even a smoother process between getting a survivor from Temple main campus to Hunting Park, or to another advocacy group in Philadelphia. There's a lot that are working to help students at Drexel, Penn, St. Joe's, not just Temple as well.
And so so if something happens and say that person goes to the police, the Temple police, is that still kind of a lot of red tape in that process before they take them to Philadelphia SVU?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I think that we have a lot of really amazing people who work here who deal really intimately with survivors and know that we should empower them to make decisions that they feel are best suited for themselves. So I know that Donna Gray in Campus Safety Services does a really great job of kind of walking survivors through the process of what they need. If they don't want to give any information to police, they don't have to. So it's really up to the survivor to determine how much or how little information or follow-up they want to give. They don't have to provide information. They don't have to have any medical examinations completed, anything like that. So I think that, there are people at Temple who handle it really well. But like I said, there are a lot of things that we could be doing differently to help survivors.
And obviously this is a terrible thing that you even want to we have to discuss this, but is it a problem that is more prevalent, like here at Temple, that people don't realize, or like does it happen, more frequently than anybody hears about? I mean, you get a TU alert if something happens, happens where police respond to it. But as a whole, sexual violence as a whole, is it something that happens but the university doesn't talk about?
I don't think that's really for me to say. I think that this is an incredibly sensitive and tough issue to talk about, especially as a reporter, because there is so much I don't know about it. But I'm trying my best to really understand the scope of sexual violence at Temple. I think it's really difficult to collect information about it because a lot of people don't want to report when they're assaulted. And understandably. So I think that even if someone reports, they don't have to, give any more information. They don't have to, let Temple police know like the name of the person. They don't have to include their own name. So it's really hard to say Temple is better or worse than anywhere else. I think, like I said, sexual violence is a societal problem. And, things on a college campus may make that worse, but I don't think we can really attribute sexual violence to like anything that happens at Temple or really anywhere.
Now, I don't want to touch on the topic too much of last night's Temple student government debate, but this topic in general was brought up. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you if there were any plans that you saw that or heard about that might, pique interest to people in the community or in the school at all, based on what the different tickets said.
So going off of Dr. Harrison's appointment, I know that Owl Opportunity and Empower to You basically just said that they supported this, that they wanted more staff or resources to be allocated to this office, and they were hoping that next steps could be taken since this office was already implemented, and that was one of their goals. Take to You was another platform that had really strong feelings about advocating for survivors and, doing some things a little bit differently than what we have been doing, including a rape crisis center. Again, I don't know how feasible that is for the university, but I think that any way that we can get more resources here is so important. And there's no way that a rape crisis center could be a bad thing at Temple. So, I just don't know enough about the law behind that. I know that there's certain stipulations behind doing rape kits on a campus. I mean, in a situation like this, you're collecting evidence. It is a criminal act. So the university can't be responsible for harboring evidence in that way. So that's kind of why the Special Victims Unit exists. But like I said, I don't know enough about it to say confidently that that's something that can or should happen here.
Okay. And one more thing. You brought up Take to You's whole thing where the one girl said she was, domestically assaulted. I think that's what she came out saying.
She said she was a survivor of sexual violence.
Yeah. And then one of their other representatives stood up and said something about the FBI coming and putting forth like the crisis center or something like that.
So, yeah, as part of Take to You, they said that the FBI recommended or kind of really pushed for a rape crisis center here. We are under investigation, as well as a lot of universities are under investigation. So I know that the committee was a step toward putting more innovative ideas at the university in this whole conversation. But yeah, I don't know about the FBI.
Okay.
I haven't really heard anything about that. I will have to fact check him on that one.
Okay.
But I know that recommendations have been made, and we are under investigation. So that really says that things need to change here. And I haven't seen many major changes besides this advisor. So we're on the right track, I suppose.
And I guess to say the least about that FBI statement, it got people's attention at least.
It did. I mean, I think that a lot of people want a rape crisis center here. They feel really strongly about it, and I don't blame them. But just in my reporting, we need to understand legal implications of that, criminal implications of that, if we have the resources, and if it's feasible at all for Temple University.
Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and ask you the same question we asked Paige a little bit earlier. But since this is Beyond the Lead, we want to ask and see if there's anything that maybe didn't make the story or that wasn't exactly relevant completely to the story, but you thought was interesting and thought that. Is there anything that you can tell us that wasn't exactly in the story?
I can say that the Temple News has been reporting on sexual assault a lot this semester. Whether you see it in print or not, we've been kind of digging into it a little bit to see what Temple's up to and what the climate of sexual assault at Temple is. And it's an enormous topic. And there's so much that we all still need to learn about it. And I think, whether you are a survivor or an ally, everyone needs education on sexual assault. So I think moving forward, something that I didn't put in the story was Dr. Harrison spoke a lot about changing policies regarding sexual assault. So, one of her first things to do in her new position is to look at policies regarding sexual assault that Temple already has and modify them for students to understand them, for them to be a little bit clearer so that students know, like, in the student conduct code exactly what they can do, or, what rape means to a student, or what assault means, what stalking means, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on and on. So I think that better resources and education is what Temple students need and what faculty needs and what the community needs.
Yeah, and certainly making that language clear to everybody can't hurt. So everybody, so you say, hey, this is exactly what it is. It's not hiding behind any, legal language or anything, because often, some of the laws, some of the statutes, they are written, they're hard to understand. But if you just make it bare bones, say, this is what it is, people can't say, oh, well, I didn't understand that, or, I didn't know what that meant. Well, here it is right here. So thanks, Emily, for talking to us about that. We are going to take our final break here of the afternoon, but be sure to stay tuned, because coming up, we will be recapping the entire Temple student government debate last night. I wasn't there, but Nate was. The Temple News was there as well. I heard it was lively, but we'll get to that right after the break. So stay tuned here to Beyond the Lead on WHIP Radio, Philly's #1 college radio station. We will be right back.
Past the top of the hour, and here's your WHIP Sports Update.
I'm Ethan Miller, and this report is brought to you by iHeartRadio. Download the app for free on your smartphone or tablet to instantly gain full access to music, sports, and entertainment. Huge win for the Flyers last night as they took down the Red Wings 4-3. The Flyers are now 1 point out of the playoffs, right behind the Red Wings with 14 games left in the regular season. It's just 1 day away from the best time of the year and 2 days away from the number 10 seed in the South region. Your Temple Owls taking on the number 7 seed Iowa on Friday afternoon at 3:10 p.m. 2 other local teams are joining the Owls in the tournament. Villanova, also in the South region as the number 2 seed, will be taking on number 15 seed UNC Asheville on Friday at 12:40 p.m. Number 8 seed in the West region, St. Joe's, will take on Temple's AAC opponent Cincinnati Friday night at 10 p.m. It's going to be mostly cloudy with a high of 68 and low of 45 in Center City today. That's your WHIP Sports Update. I'm Ethan Miller. Have a great day.
I wish I was in school. I wish I was in school. I wish I was in school.
Summer isn't fun when you're hungry.
If only I had a big test today. Or a book report to give. Give me a math quiz. Give me some homework.
If your child relies on free school lunches, we can help provide them with free meals this summer.
I'll stay after class. I'll clean the chalkboard. I'll keep my desk real clean.
So they can stop worrying about food and start focusing on fun.
I'll do extra homework. I'll clean the class pet's cage. I'll skip recess. I wish I was in school. I wish I was in school.
School might end, but free lunches don't have to. Find your local Feeding America food bank for help. Together, we're feeding America.
To find your local Feeding America food bank, visit feedingamerica.org/summer meals. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Some statistics are surprising, some are unbelievable, and some are simply unacceptable. Right now, nearly 30% of U.S. students aren't finishing high school. Nearly 30%. And that's the average. In many places, it's even higher than that. And fixing it is a responsibility that we all share. This is President Obama, and I urge everyone, not just parents, but friends and neighbors and family members, to take responsibility for encouraging the high school students in your communities, to support them, challenge them, push them a little, and do whatever it takes to help them make it through. Because this is one statistic we simply can't afford to ignore.
You can do your part by going to boostup.org and sending an email, a text message, or even a wake-up call to a student at risk of dropping out. Go to boostup.org and provide the boost that's needed to make it to graduation. A message from the U.S. Army and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to WHIP, Philadelphia's #1 college radio station. Today's edition, Beyond the Lead. Ryan, I know Ryan Goodwin usually likes to ask you this question, and he gets really excited about it. But today,
Are you going to get excited?
I'm going to get excited about it because I like a lot in my wallet. I like to have a really, really fat wallet. But how is my money doing?
Well, you're in luck today.
Yeah!
It's doing well. It is. The markets are up. Everybody's in the green right now. The S&P 500 up 13. The Dow Jones up 104, and the Nasdaq up 41. The headlines on Yahoo Finance: Janet Yellen decides to pass on another rate hike. Says that there are too many global instabilities in the market currently. And another story: Donald Trump. He's gotten $383 million worth of free exposure on social media. So he is always tweeting out from his Twitter account, whether or not it's spelled correctly. We talked about that on Monday. He did call Marco Rubio a chocker.
A chocker. I wanted to ask the girls in the studio right now, have you guys seen his tweets at all?
Yeah, actually, so I was at a conference, a journalism conference over the weekend, and I was talking with someone from the New York Times who makes a lot of graphics and really interactive media. He told me he, along with a couple other Times staffers, have put together 202 people, places, and things Donald Trump has insulted, and they update it every Friday. I was just checking it out because it's been updated since we talked about it. And so it's just a list, and they said, he insults people so often that we needed a common denominator, and that common denominator is Twitter. So when you go on, it'll actually, each of the list of insults is actually links you right to the tweet.
That's a Twitter account, or is that a website?
No, it's a website on the Times. Just search 202
Nate's
people,
gonna
places,
look that
and
up right
things.
now.
Yeah.
All right, so Nate, while you're slacking on our duties here on National Radio Beyond the Lead, I'll take over. We're now going to talk about the Temple student government debate that took place last night. It was a lively event with 4 platforms, 4 groups running for the nomination, I guess you could say, the presidency, the most coveted position here at Temple University. We have the 4 platforms: OWL, Opportunity, Believe in TU, Empower TU, and Take TU. And so I hear it was exciting. Ladies, feel free to talk about it. What happened? What went down? What was good, bad?
There was a
who
lot
needs
of
a little
people
fact checking?
there. Yeah. It was pretty packed. I didn't expect that many people to be there.
How many people would you say?
I would say probably 70
More people were filtering in. They were adding chairs as we were going.
Yeah. So we moderated the debate last year, and Paige and our chief copy editor moderated this year with Melissa Steiniger of Temple Update, and it was a lot more packed, as I'm sure you can imagine, with 4 tickets. That hasn't happened since 2010.
Yeah,
wow.
It was definitely an interesting experience. What we decided to do was we got the teams. We got each of the teams' information on Friday. So over the weekend, we read through them, and we realized that it's not a 2-party system like we see in a presidential election. People aren't running as Republicans or Democrats. They're just running on their platforms. So a lot of the tickets, most of the tickets had very similar ideas, and it comes down to, I think, how they're implementing them. So we looked at some themes like diversity on campus. We asked about, most of the platforms had something about gender inclusive housing or gender neutral housing. We asked about safety on campus. We asked about the state budget, another pressing issue that they may have to deal with in the next year.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we've been talking about that.
So I think it came down to less of who thinks what is a good idea and more of who is going to be implementing it the best, or who has a real plan of action to get something done.
And so who do we think if anybody, do we think anyone emerged as a front runner? Was anyone up there and you were like, whoa, like these people are going to be really good?
I don't think that happened. I think what happened was that we saw certain issues. We saw strengths within certain teams on maybe certain issues. So it was obvious when one team was very passionate about something. We were just talking about sexual assault. I would say Take To You is very passionate about it. We know that Believe in TU has a very strong. There's 2 members that are in ROTC, so they feel strongly in those issues. I think it comes down to, each team has that one really big thing that they want to get done, and so that might be what the voters are looking for, and it may not be. So I don't know. Yeah, but I don't feel like one team really stood out. I think it's obvious who's good at what and who needs to work on what, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What was said about campus safety? Because I'm curious, because I know that is on the minds of a lot of people. A lot of people that I talk to say that they are concerned about it. That they're happy with where it is, but they want to see more happen.
Yeah. Well, we brought up the fact, we reported it last week or 2 weeks ago, that Temple is going to be adding 18 officers to its police force, and so we kind of just posed the question: how do we think about safety on campus, and is this a good step for the university to be spending this money on hiring these new officers? And so teams had different reactions about that. Some people thought, anything we can do to increase safety on campus is a good thing. Other teams said, we don't need to be spending, we have a lot of money issues already. We don't need to be spending this on safety. So it was definitely a mixed bag.
I think that question also transitioned into a larger conversation about community relations, and if, adding more officers is really the solution or even necessary. And if, just improving relations with the community. And I believe it was Empower to You who said, we want you to start respecting the community and the community to start respecting us. And then there's kind of this mutual understanding of open dialogue and,
I think that's huge. Just being a two-way street, if they want respect from Temple, which, they definitely deserve. And then I think it's, proper for us to say, respect us as well, meet us in the middle and we'll talk about it. Let's both be in this together. Let's not, fight about why do we need to fight about it, if we want to try and get stuff done. So,
and one of the topics that I've brought it in on Beyond the Lead before, is about the stadium. And you guys did bring that up last night. I think the question was, with the stadium, what plans would you be able to put your ideals aside in order to work with everybody? And I saw a lot of mixed answers with that.
I think it goes back to, and when we asked about community, something we asked the candidates was, what do you think Temple student government's role in involving community in conversations, not just about the stadium, but in general? And you're right, there was a mixed bag. I would say Take To You was very adamant about this conversation. There's no way you can say it's just a Temple issue. It's very obviously involves the community. And then I think Empower To You was saying, we're Temple student government. We're Temple student government. We're here to serve the students. And so whatever they're feeling, that's what our job is for, is to serve them. So I think it goes into how Temple student government, what they think their responsibility is. So I don't know if anyone really said yet that they're fully in support of the stadium. We heard that a couple people were definitely not in support of it. And then, but also we're waiting, from Board of Trustees to get a go-ahead. We're still kind of in a middle ground. We're not really sure what's happening.
Yeah, these are still just proposed plans.
Right.
So I was interested to see if any of the tickets took a stance and had an official stance to, reach certain voters or to make their voices as leaders heard, either supporting it or being against it. So I was very interested that 3 of the 4 tickets didn't really take a stance. I think Take To You was the only one that really said, we don't support this openly.
And that's what I kind of liked about it, because they get Empower and Owl Opportunity and Believe To You. Well, Take To You, they have their right, they have their stance on it, and it showed when the kid came out and said, I've been to Stadium Stomper
Right.
meetings and all that stuff. They kind of just said, we're looking for what's best for not only the community but also Temple in general, which is something I respect, because you got to look at both sides of the story. You sometimes you have to compromise. Sometimes, is the stadium going up? No idea yet, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no plans really actually in place for it. But anyway, moving on. Another thing that we brought up, we didn't touch on the gender neutral.
Not so much. Not
No,
yet.
okay.
Yeah.
So you guys brought up the idea of gender neutral housing.
Well, we saw inclusiveness was very broadly mentioned in every single platform. Some of them had very specific plans for implementing gender neutral housing. One thing we said was that last year when both tickets were running, that was one of the priorities for both tickets. And we still haven't seen that happen on Temple's campus. A lot of colleges have implemented that into their dorming system. So we were interested that it's still kind of a priority for most teams, but we wanted to say, so you've made this a priority, but what are you doing about it? What are the plans for really enacting this? And I know some people, can't remember which ticket it was, had resident advisor, RA, experience, and they said, we can work closely with the residence halls to make this work, but I think generally I'm not sure that anyone has a super solid plan.
I think, the only one I really know that was detailed was Believe in TU said they wanted to make LLCs where you could apply for gender neutral housing as an LLC. But that was the only thing that I really heard of as a detailed, structured plan. And that's not even really a detailed, structured plan.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
more of like an idea.
Okay. Well, thank you, ladies, for coming in today. We actually have to wrap it up. We have another show coming in about 5 minutes. But great articles. Thank you so much again for coming in. We really appreciate it. You guys make Beyond the Lead able to run, basically. You guys from the Temple News have been amazing. Ryan, you got anything else?
I mean, since it is collaboration, it would be hard to make it run, without the Temple News. If it was just us, it'd be Rational Radio, and we already have that. So no, I'm glad you pointed that out.
Thank you.
No. It was a great conversation today. Covered lots of topics. It was great to work through the paper. If you're listening to this, you're on Temple's campus, you haven't picked up the paper yet, go ahead and do so. There are a lot of great articles, more than we just discussed here. Arts and entertainment, lifestyle, sports, everything in the paper. And if you're listening, we hope you enjoyed the program today. As always, Beyond the Lead will be back next Wednesday in the Rational Radio time slot from 3 to 4. But that'll just about do it for us here today. So for all of us here, Nate Weaver, I'm Ryan Frascella, everybody at the Temple News. Have a great rest of the day. We will see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Just wanna take your time. I don't wanna wreck your